The sharp crack of her father's fist meeting her jaw sent Sage sprawling across the dirt floor. Pain exploded through her skull, stars bursting behind her eyes. "You useless bitch!" Marcus roared, his boot connecting with her ribs before she could curl into a ball. 3 hours to haul waste to the border. 3! My 10-year-old nephew could do it faster. Sage gasped, trying to pull air into her lungs. Her mouth tasted like copper. She knew better than to explain that Old Man Garrett had needed help getting his cart unstuck from the mud, or that she'd had to make 2 trips because the wagon wheel broke. Excuses just made it worse. Look at her! Her mother's voice dripped with disgust from the doorway. Helena didn't even bother coming inside, too afraid of getting dirt on her nice dress. 20 years old and still can't do a simple task right. The goddess cursed us the day you were born. Another kick, this one to her spine. Sage bit down on her tongue to keep from crying out, blood filling her mouth. "Mom, she's making me late," Iris whined from behind Helena, her perfectly curled blonde hair catching the afternoon sunlight. "Kieran's waiting for me at the lake, and I need Sage to finish my laundry first." Sage's heart twisted at her sister's voice. 3 weeks. It had been 3 weeks since the mate bond had snapped into place with Kieran during the pack gathering. 3 weeks since he'd looked at her with such raw revulsion that she'd actually stepped back. "You? The goddess mated me to you?" His words had echoed across the clearing while everyone watched. "I, Kieran Thorne, reject you, Sage Matthews, as my mate." The bond had severed with a pain worse than any beating. But that hadn't been enough for Iris. 1 week later, she'd appeared on Kieran's arm, all sweet smiles and batting eyelashes. Now they were together. Her own sister had taken her rejected mate just to prove she could. "Get up." Marcus grabbed a fistful of Sage's dark hair, yanking her head back. His breath reeked of cheap whiskey. "You've got work to do." He shoved her forward. Sage's palms scraped against the rough floor as she caught herself, fresh blood seeping from the cuts. "And don't even think about going to the healer," Helena added coldly. "You don't deserve to waste pack resources on your clumsiness." Clumsiness. That's what they called it when the bruises got noticed. Sage pushed herself up slowly, her ribs screaming in protest. Everything hurt. Everything always hurt. "Oh, and Sage?" Iris leaned against the doorframe, examining her perfect manicure. "Make sure you use the lavender soap on my clothes. The roses don't suit me anymore. Kieran says I smell like a summer meadow." She smiled, all teeth and cruelty. "He's so romantic." The door slammed shut behind them. Sage stayed on her knees for a long moment, waiting for her vision to clear. Blood dripped from her split lip onto the dirt floor, each drop a tiny crimson flower of her suffering. 20 years of this. 20 years of being the pack's punching bag, their servant, their joke. Why? She wanted to scream at the moon goddess. What did I do to deserve this? But she already knew the answer. Nothing. She'd done nothing except be born to the wrong parents in the wrong pack at the wrong time. Her wolf whimpered inside her, weak and small. Even her own wolf was broken. Sage forced herself to stand, swaying slightly. She had Iris's laundry to finish, then the alpha's den needed cleaning, then... "Sage Matthews!" The roar came from outside, followed by heavy footsteps. Lots of them. Sage's blood went cold. That was Beta Roland's voice, and he only used that tone for one thing. Pack business. Serious pack business. The door burst open. 5 warriors filed in, their faces hard as stone. Roland stood at the front, his massive arms crossed over his chest. "Sage Matthews," he repeated, his grey eyes sweeping over her bloody, beaten form without even a flicker of sympathy. "You're under arrest for the murder of Lydia Crane." The world tilted. "What? Don't play dumb." Roland jerked his chin, and 2 warriors grabbed her arms, their grips like iron vices on her already bruised skin. "Lydia was found dead near the western border 2 hours ago. Throat torn out. A scout claims he saw you in the area this morning." "I was hauling waste. I would never." Panic clawed up Sage's throat. "Beta Roland, please, I didn't kill anyone." "Save it for the alpha." His voice was flat, final. "Take her to the cells." "No, wait." Sage tried to pull free, but her injured ribs sent agony shooting through her chest. "I'm innocent. I was nowhere near." "Shut up!" The warrior on her left, Jackson, she thought his name was, shook her hard enough to rattle her teeth. "Murderer." They dragged her out into the harsh sunlight. Pack members had already gathered. Their faces twisted with anger and disgust. Someone spat at her. Something hard, a rock maybe, hit her shoulder. Killer! How could you? Lydia was pregnant! Pregnant! Oh, goddess! Lydia had been pregnant! I didn't do it! Sage's voice cracked, desperation making it shrill. Please, someone believe me! But no one did. Why would they? She was nothing, less than nothing. The pack's waste disposal, its scapegoat, its favourite target. Through the crowd, she saw Kieran. He stood with his arm around Iris, both of them watching with identical expressions of cold satisfaction. Iris actually smiled, a tiny, triumphant curve of her perfect lips. Something broke inside Sage then. Something that had been barely holding together for 20 years, finally shattered. They didn't just hate her, they wanted her destroyed. The warriors hauled her down the stone steps beneath the Alpha's den. The cells down here were for serious offenders. Rogues caught on packland, wolves who'd committed crimes worth dying for. The air smelled like mould and old blood and despair. They threw her into the farthest cell and Sage hit the ground hard. Her vision went white with pain. Alpha will decide your punishment tomorrow, Roland said from beyond the bars. His voice echoed off the damp stone walls. Until then, think about what you've done. I didn't. The door clanged shut. Their footsteps faded. Chapter 2. The stone floor was freezing against Sage's cheek. She'd given up trying to sit. Every position hurt too much. Every breath hurt. Every thought hurt. Lydia was dead. Someone had murdered a pregnant pack member, and they'd decided it was Sage. Just like that. No investigation. No questions. Just straight to guilty. Because she was Sage. Because she was worthless. So she just lay there in the dark, counting her breaths, waiting for whatever came next. Above her, the guards' voices drifted down. Heard the Lycan Kings doing another gathering. Yeah? Good luck to whatever poor female gets picked this time. Seriously, everyone knows he's cursed. 20 years and he still hasn't found his fated mate. How many women has he gone through now? Lost count, but hey, at least they get to live in a palace before he exiles them. Sage's battered mind latched onto their words like a drowning person grabbing driftwood. The Lycan King. Everyone knew about him. King Theron, the most powerful Lycan in existence, cursed by the goddess herself to never find his true mate. Every year, he held a gathering where eligible females from packs across the territories were presented to him. He'd choose one, keep her for a few months, then send her away when the bond didn't form. Some said he was cruel, others said he was just broken. All agreed that no one actually wanted to be chosen. The rumours say he killed his fated one a century ago, caught her trying to poison him for his throne. I heard his wolf went dark after that, like completely dark. Can't even feel the mate bond anymore. Yeah, and now he just cycles through females like they're disposable, takes them to his fortress, keeps them for a few months, then exiles them when his wolf doesn't accept them, if they're lucky. Some say the ones who displease him don't make it out at all. Sage's heart was pounding now, but she didn't move, didn't make a sound. So who's Xavier sending to die? The younger guard asked. That's the thing, he's trying to figure out who to waste. Can't send anyone important. The pack would riot if he shipped off someone's daughter or sister to that monster. A pause. Then the older guard's voice changed, got darker with amusement. What about the murderer in the cells? Sage? The one who killed Lydia? She's gonna die anyway, right? Might as well send her and say we fulfilled the king's requirement. Solves two problems at once. We get rid of her and look obedient to the Lycan King. They both laughed, the sound echoing off the stone walls. Brilliant. Xavier will love that. Send the worthless killer north and let Theron deal with her. When's this one happening? The first guard asked. 3 days. Apparently it's some kind of honour. Their footsteps faded as they walked away, still chuckling. 3 days. Sage closed her eyes and for the first time in her life she prayed for something other than death. She prayed for escape, because tomorrow the Alpha would decide her fate. And there was no way, absolutely no way, she was being sentenced fairly. They'd already decided she was guilty. The question was just how they'd kill her. Unless she could get to that gathering. Unless she could somehow, impossibly, become the female chosen for the Lycan King. This was it. This was her way out. Not to freedom. She wasn't that naive. But to death on her own terms. She wouldn't die in this cell like a rat. wouldn't give her family the satisfaction of watching her executed in front of the pack, wouldn't give Iris and Kieran the pleasure of seeing her broken and begging. If she was going to die, it would be somewhere far from this cursed place, somewhere these people couldn't touch her. The Gathering. King Theron. The cursed king who'd been searching for a mate for a century. It was desperate, the plan of someone with absolutely nothing left to lose. But Sage had nothing left to lose. She had nothing left at all. Hours crawled by, or maybe it was days. Time felt meaningless down here in the dark. Finally, footsteps descended the stairs. The younger guard appeared with a tin bowl of something that might have been soup once. "Here!" He shoved it through the bars without looking at her. "Last meal before Alpha decides what to do with you tomorrow." "Wait!" Sage's voice came out rough, broken. She forced herself to sit up, ignoring the screaming protest from her ribs. "I heard you!" "About sending me to the Lycan King." The guard froze, his eyes widening. "You were awake?" "I'm always awake." She dragged herself closer to the bars, every movement agony. "You said I'm going to die anyway. That you might as well send me north." That wasn't." He glanced toward the stairs nervously. "I'll go willingly." Now he just stared at her. "What?" "You heard me. I volunteer." Sage met his shocked gaze, her voice empty of everything except cold determination. "Tell Alpha Xavier I'll go to King Theron's gathering. Saves him the trouble of dragging me there." "You..." The guard's mouth opened and closed. "You want to go get killed by the cursed king?" "I want to die somewhere that isn't this cell." Sage's laugh was bitter, broken. "Somewhere far from this pack. Somewhere my family can't watch. If I'm going to die anyway, I'd rather it be in a place none of you can ever touch." The guard backed away slowly, like she'd lost her mind. Maybe she had. Maybe she'd lost it years ago and was just now noticing. I'll tell the Alpha." "You do that." He practically ran up the stairs. 2 hours later, they came for her. Not the guards this time, Beta Roland himself, with 4 warriors flanking him. "On your feet," Roland ordered. "Alpha wants to see you." They hauled her up the stairs through the pack house into the Alpha's office. Alpha Xavier sat behind his massive desk, his silver-streaked hair gleaming in the lamplight. He looked at Sage the way someone might look at a bug they were deciding whether to squash. "I hear you volunteered for something." His voice was smooth, deceptively calm. "Want to explain that?" Sage swayed on her feet, barely staying upright. Everything hurt, but she forced her voice steady. "Send me to King Theron's gathering instead of whoever else you were planning to sacrifice. I'm dead either way. At least this way, Hollowbrook gets something out of it." Xavier's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly do we get? If he kills me, you're not responsible. Just another unstable female who couldn't handle the cursed king." Sage's words came faster now, desperate. "But if by some miracle he chooses me, if his wolf accepts me, you get a royal connection. The pack that sent the Lycan King his mate. That's worth something." "She has a point," Roland muttered from behind her. Xavier leaned back in his chair, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. "You really think you have a chance?" "No." Sage's laugh was hollow. "I think I'm going to die. But I'd rather die there than here. And you were going to execute me anyway, so what do you lose?" Silence stretched between them. Xavier's fingers drummed on the desk, once, twice, 3 times. Then he smiled. "Deal, you'll leave tomorrow at dawn." They didn't take her back to the cells. Instead, they locked her in a small room in the pack house, probably to make sure she didn't try to run. Not that she could. Her body was broken in too many places. But in the morning, something changed. The door opened, and 3 females filed in, carrying buckets of warm water, soap, and an enormous trunk. They looked at Sage with a mix of pity and disgust. "Alpha's orders," the oldest one said curtly. "You're to be cleaned and dressed appropriately. Can't have you showing up at the Lycan King's fortress looking like that." They worked efficiently, stripping away her filthy clothes, scrubbing dried blood from her skin. Sage stood there like a doll, letting them move her body however they needed. The warm water stung every cut, but it felt like heaven compared to the cold cell. When they opened the trunk, Sage's breath caught. Inside was the most beautiful dress she'd ever seen. A deep emerald silk that shimmered in the lamplight with delicate silver embroidery along the bodice and sleeves. It looked expensive, really expensive. Why? The words slipped out before she could stop it. The oldest female paused, her hands smoothing the silk. Alpha's orders, if you're representing Hollowbrook at the King's gathering, you need to look the part, even if... She didn't finish, but the implication was clear. Even if you're going to die. They helped her into the dress. It fit perfectly, hugging curves. Sage didn't even know she had. One of the younger females did something with her dark hair, pinning it up in a way that made her look almost pretty. Another applied makeup, covering the worst of the bruises. When they finally let her look in the mirror, Sage barely recognized herself. The girl staring back wasn't the broken, beaten thing she'd always seen. She looked dignified, beautiful even. The dress made her skin glow, and someone had put just enough makeup to hide the damage without looking fake. For the first time in her life, Sage looked like she mattered. There! The oldest female stepped back, eyeing her work critically. The journey north took 3 days. They'd given Sage her own carriage, probably to keep her separate from the actual pack members making the trip. 2 warriors rode alongside as escorts, but they didn't speak to her, didn't even look at her unless necessary. Sage sat in the plush seat, watching the landscape change outside the window. Forest gave way to hills, hills to mountains. The air grew colder. Snow began appearing on the peaks. She should have been terrified. Should have been planning, thinking, preparing for whatever came next. But all she felt was numb. At night, they stopped at inns. The warriors gave her a room, locked from the outside, of course, but at least it had a real bed, blankets. Sage lay awake most of the nights, staring at the ceiling, trying to feel something. Anything. On the 3rd day, Frostpeak came into view. Goddess above, one of the warriors muttered. Sage pressed her face to the window and understood why. The fortress was massive. Stone walls rose from the mountainside like they'd been carved from the mountain itself, towering higher than any building she'd ever seen. Watchtowers pierced the grey sky. Flags bearing the Lycan King's crest, a wolf wreathed in silver flames, snapped in the brutal wind. It looked like something from a nightmare, beautiful and terrible at once. The carriage rolled through gates that could have fit 3 wagons side by side. Guards lined the courtyard, all of them huge, all of them armed. They watched the arriving carriages with cold, assessing eyes. Dozens of other vehicles filled the space. Packs from all over the territories had sent their candidates. Females were being helped down, all of them dressed beautifully, all of them looking terrified. Sage's door opened. The warrior didn't offer his hand, just jerked his chin. Out. She climbed down carefully, her ribs still aching beneath the corset of the dress. Around her, other females clustered in groups, whispering nervously. Their dresses were lovely, blues and golds and deep reds, but Sage noticed several of them glancing at her emerald gown with something like envy. "Why's she dressed like that?" someone whispered. "Is her pack trying to get her killed for standing out? Maybe she thinks she actually has a chance." Bold move for someone about to die. Sage ignored them. She didn't have the energy to care what anyone thought. A horn blew, deep, resonant, shaking the very air. The massive doors to the great hall swung open, and a male in formal black attire stepped out. "Welcome to Frostpeak," he announced, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "I am Declan, second to King Theron. You will proceed inside in an orderly fashion. Remember, you stand before the Lycan King. Show respect or face the consequences." The females filed in, silent now. Sage let herself be swept along with the crowd. The great hall was breathtaking. Soaring ceilings held up by carved stone pillars, enormous fireplaces along both walls, flames roaring high enough to heat the massive space. Tapestries depicting battles and hunts covered the walls, and chandeliers dripping with crystals hung overhead. At the far end, raised on a dais, sat a throne, empty. They arranged the females in rows, hundreds of them, all beautiful, all trying not to shake. Sage ended up near the back, which suited her fine. She didn't want to be seen, didn't want attention. She just wanted this to be over. Another horn blast. Every female straightened, some smoothing their dresses, others fixing their hair. Then he entered. Sage had heard the stories, had imagined what the cursed king might look like, but nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared her. King Theron was enormous, easily 6.5 feet tall, with shoulders broad enough to block out the sun. He wore black leather and dark furs that made him look even more massive, more predatory. His hair was dark as midnight, falling past his shoulders. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, a face that might have been handsome if it wasn't so hard, so completely devoid of warmth. But it was his eyes that made Sage's breath catch. They were silver, actual silver, like moonlight frozen into ice, and they held nothing, no emotion, no feeling, just empty cold that made the hall's temperature drop another 10 degrees. This wasn't a man. This was something else, something ancient and powerful and utterly hollow. Theron walked down the first row of females, his second trailing behind. Declan announced each one, name, pack, lineage. The females forced smiles, executed perfect curtsies, tried desperately not to meet those terrible silver eyes. Theron didn't react, didn't speak, just walked past them like they were furniture. He moved to the second row, same thing, names, curtsies, forced smiles. He barely glanced at them. Third row, fourth, fifth. Sage watched him approach, and something inside her went very quiet, very calm. This was it. He'd look at her, reject her like everyone else had, and she'd be sent somewhere. Killed. Exiled. Who knew? It didn't matter anymore. Theron reached the back row. He walked past the first few females, his expression never changing. Then his eyes landed on Sage. He stopped. The entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Sage didn't bow, didn't curtsy or smile or do any of the things the other females had done. She just stared back at him with eyes that felt as empty as his own. Two broken wolves looking at each other across an impossible distance. Something flickered in Theron's expression, so brief she almost missed it. His eyes narrowed slightly, and she felt rather than saw his wolf stir, like something waking up after a very long sleep. He took a step closer, then another. He was so tall she had to tilt her head back to keep meeting his gaze. Your name. His voice was deep, rough, like he didn't use it often. Sage. What pack? Hollowbrook. She paused, then added because it was true. But they don't want me. Nobody does. The barest hint of something, amusement maybe, crossed his face. Yet you're here. I volunteered. Sage's voice was flat, emotionless. Being killed by a king seems better than being executed in a pack that never wanted me. Gasps echoed through the hall. Several females looked at her, like she'd lost her mind. You didn't talk to the Lycan King like that. You didn't tell him you expected to die. But Theron's lips twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. You volunteered to come here to die? Yes. Sage held his silver gaze without fear, without hope, without anything. I have nothing left to lose. Might as well die somewhere far from the people who hate me. For a long moment, Theron just stared at her. His eyes traced her face, the bruises she knew the makeup couldn't completely hide, the exhaustion carved into her bones, the absolute emptiness that matched his own. Then he turned to Declan. The gathering is over. Send everyone home. Chaos erupted. What? My lord, we just arrived! But the selection, you can't just... Theron ignored all of it. He walked back to where Sage stood, females parting frantically to get out of his way. The crowd noise died immediately as he stopped in front of her again. He held out one massive hand. You'll do. Sage stared at his palm, at the calluses and scars marking his skin, at the claws just barely visible beneath human nails. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what she'd do. Sage placed her hand in his fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, completely engulfing her smaller hand. He pulled her forward, not roughly, but with absolute certainty, and she stumbled after him up the aisle between the stunned females. Behind them, the hall exploded into noise again. Protests, outrage, confusion. Sage didn't look back, didn't care about any of them. She'd come here to die, but apparently the cursed king had other plans. Chapter 3, The Deal. Theron led her through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. His hand still held hers, firm, warm, possessive in a way that should have scared her, but somehow didn't. Guards lined the walls, all of them dropping to one knee as their king passed. None of them looked at Sage. Finally, he stopped at a set of massive oak doors, pushed them open, drew her inside. The room beyond was smaller than the Great Hall, but still huge, a private study maybe, with bookshelves lining the walls and a fireplace crackling in the corner. The door shut behind them with a heavy thud, cutting off the chaos echoing from the hall. Theron released her hand, walked to the fireplace, his back to her. Sage stood there, her heart pounding despite the numbness. What just happened? I chose you. His voice was flat, matter of fact. I know that part. I mean, why? He turned, those silver eyes pinning her in place. You'll be my queen, my mate. My wolf accepts you. That's more than I've gotten in all my years of searching. He moved closer, each step deliberate. Unless you'd prefer going back for execution? Sage's throat went dry. Your wolf accepts me? Just like that? Just like that? Something flickered in his expression. Frustration, maybe. I stopped feeling the mate bond a century ago, thought I'd never feel anything again, but when I looked at you, he paused. My wolf stirred. Actually stirred. First time in decades. That's not a mate bond, though. Sage's voice came out steadier than she felt. That's just your wolf not rejecting me. It's enough. Theron stopped right in front of her, so close she could feel the heat radiating off his massive frame. I need a queen. My kingdom needs a queen. And you need somewhere to go that isn't a cell or a grave. It wasn't romantic, wasn't even kind, really. Just cold, brutal honesty. Sage looked up at him, at this ancient, powerful, completely empty king who'd somehow chosen her. This isn't a rescue. No, this is a deal. Yes, his lips curved slightly. One broken wolf offering another a way out. Sage thought about Hollowbrook, about her parents and Iris and Kieran, about dying in that cell while they all watched and celebrated, about giving them the satisfaction of destroying her completely. Then she thought about this, a castle in the mountains, a king who at least looked at her like she was real, a future that wasn't execution or rejection. It wasn't love, it wasn't even close to love, but it was better than going back. Sage held out her hand. I'll do it. Theron's fingers wrapped around hers again, sealing the deal. We'll wed in a week, mark each other, make it official. A week? Sage's stomach twisted. That's fast, I know. He released her hand, stepped back. But I've wasted a century already, and you don't have anywhere else to go, do you? No. She didn't. 1 week. She whispered. 1 week. Theron moved to the door, opened it. A female servant stood outside, head bowed. Mira will show you to your chambers. You'll have everything you need, clothes, food, privacy. I won't demand anything except your presence at official functions. Sage blinked. You're giving me my own chambers? Did you expect me to throw you in my bed immediately? Something almost amused crossed his face. I may be cursed, but I'm not a monster. Not in that way, at least. He left without another word, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. Mira stepped inside, her expression carefully neutral. She was small, barely taller than Sage, with kind brown eyes and greying hair pulled back in a neat bun. My lady, if you'll follow me? The chambers Mira led her to were ridiculous, that was the only word for it. A massive bedroom with a 4-poster bed draped in silver silk, windows overlooking the mountains, a sitting area with plush chairs and a fireplace, doors leading to a private bathing room that had an actual stone tub built into the floor. This is... Sage turned in a slow circle, unable to finish the sentence. Your rooms, my lady. Mira moved to the wardrobe, opening it to reveal dozens of dresses. His Majesty had these prepared. I'll have more tailored to your measurements over the next few days. Sage touched one of the dresses, soft blue silk that probably cost more than her family made in a year. He prepared these before choosing anyone? His Majesty is... thorough. Mira's lips twitched. He's been preparing for a queen for decades, just never found one his wolf would accept. Until now. Until broken, worthless Sage who'd volunteered to die. I'll draw you a bath, my lady. Mira headed for the bathing room. You've had a long journey. Wait. Sage followed her. You don't have to call me that. I'm nobody. Mira paused, studying her with those kind eyes. You're going to be queen. That makes you somebody. I'm a murderer. At least that's what everyone thinks. Did you do it? The question was soft, genuine. Sage's throat tightened. No. Then you're not a murderer. Mira turned back to the tub, adding oils that made the water smell like lavender and honey. You're just unlucky, and His Majesty has a talent for seeing past what others think. The bath was heaven. Sage sank into the hot water, letting it soak into her bruised, aching body. Every cut stung at first, then went blissfully numb. She closed her eyes, breathing in the steam. My lady? Mira's voice was hesitant. I need to help you wash. It's protocol. Sage wanted to refuse, wanted to keep this one moment of privacy. But she was too tired to argue. Fine. Mira approached with soap and a soft cloth, started working on Sage's arms, gentle and efficient. Then she froze. Goddess above, the words came out strangled. My lady, you're back. Sage's eyes flew open. What? The scars? There are so many. Mira's hands trembled slightly. What happened to you? Sage looked down at her arms, at the network of old scars layering over new bruises. She'd stopped seeing them years ago. They were just part of her skin now. I'm sorry. Mira's voice cracked. I shouldn't have asked. It's not my place. It's fine. Sage leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was knowing she'd never go back to Hollowbrook. But suddenly she wanted to say it. Wanted someone to know. This one. She touched a long scar on her shoulder. My father. I was 12. Didn't clean the den fast enough. Mira made a small sound but didn't interrupt. This one. Sage indicated her ribs. My sister. She pushed me down the stairs when I was 15 because I wouldn't give her my dinner portion. She kept going, cataloguing each mark. My mother, the pack warriors, my father again, my sister, the beta's son, my father, my father, my father. By the time she finished, Mira was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. 20 years, Sage continued, her voice empty. 20 years of being the pack's favourite target. And then they accused me of murder and I thought... Her laugh was broken. I thought at least it would be over. At least I could stop surviving. My lady... Mira's hands were shaking as she resumed washing Sage's back, infinitely gentle now. I'm so sorry. Nobody should have to endure that. It doesn't matter now. Sage closed her eyes again. I'm here, they're there, and I'll never see them again. Good. Mira's voice turned fierce. They don't deserve to even speak your name. Something warm bloomed in Sage's chest. Not hope. She didn't dare hope. But maybe something close to it. The next few days passed in a strange haze. Theron kept his word. He gave her space. Didn't demand anything, didn't force himself into her rooms. The only times she saw him were at official functions, and even then he barely spoke to her, just stood at her side, a cold, massive presence that everyone else avoided. He was distant, empty, but not cruel. Sage spent most of her time exploring the castle with Mira, who seemed to have appointed herself as Sage's personal guard. The Omega never left her side, always watching, always protective. Everyone's talking about you, Mira said on the third day as they walked through the gardens. Snow dusted the pathways and Sage's breath fogged in the air. I bet they are. Sage pulled her cloak tighter. The murderer who somehow got chosen as queen. They're saying you must have bewitched His Majesty. Mira's tone was disapproving. That you're dangerous. Maybe I am. You're not. Mira squeezed her arm. I've seen dangerous. You're just hurt. Before Sage could respond, shouting erupted from the courtyard ahead. Male voices angry and getting louder. Mira went tense. Stay here, my lady. But Sage was already moving toward the noise. They rounded the corner to find Theron facing down another male. Older, silver-haired, wearing the formal attire of a visiting alpha. Insulting to the entire wolf community, the alpha was saying, his face red. You chose that creature over daughters from noble bloodlines? Over females with actual worth? Theron's expression was carved from ice. Careful, Alpha Crane. Why? Everyone's thinking it. You picked up the Hollowbrook murder because your wolf is as broken as she is. Crane sneered. Though I suppose she'll be useful in your bed, even if she's... The crack of bone breaking echoed across the courtyard. Sage gasped. Theron had moved so fast she'd barely seen it. One moment standing still, the next his fist had connected with Crane's jaw. The alpha went down hard, blood pouring from his mouth. Say another word about my mate. Theron's voice was soft, deadly, and I'll break more than your jaw. Guards rushed forward, hauling the groaning Crane away. Theron turned, his silver eyes scanning the courtyard, until they found Sage. Something flickered in his expression, checking to make sure she was okay, maybe. Then he walked away without a word. Did you see that? Mira whispered, her eyes wide. He defended you, actually defended you. Sage's heart was racing. He barely knows me. Doesn't matter, you're his now. Mira smiled, and nobody insults what belongs to the Lycan King. That night, Sage couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the scene in the courtyard, the way Theron had moved, fast, brutal, protective. Nobody had ever defended her before. Ever. And he'd done it without hesitation, without even thinking about it. She got out of bed, wrapping a robe around herself, wandered to the window overlooking the mountains. Snow was falling now, thick and steady. 4 more days until the wedding. 4 more days until she became queen. 4 more days until she marked a male she barely knew and bound herself to him forever. Sage pressed her forehead against the cold glass. This wasn't love. This wasn't even affection. Just 2 broken wolves making a deal because they had nowhere else to go. Chapter 4. The Gamma and the Gown. Sage was lost. She'd been trying to find the library. Mira had mentioned it was on the 3rd floor, west wing. But every corridor in this massive castle looked the same. Stone walls, tapestries, suits of armour standing guard like silent sentinels. She turned another corner and slammed straight into a solid chest. Whoa! Strong hands caught her shoulders, steadying her before she could fall. You okay? Sage looked up into warm hazel eyes. The male was tall, not as tall as Theron, but still impressive, with sandy brown hair and an easy smile that felt completely out of place in this cold fortress. Sorry, I wasn't watching where I was going. Sage stepped back quickly, expecting him to drop his hands and walk away like everyone else did. But he didn't. He just grinned. No worries, you must be the future queen everyone's whispering about. That's me, the murderer. Sage waited for the usual reaction, the step back, the cold eyes, the sudden excuse to leave. Instead, he laughed. Actually laughed. Right, because you definitely look like a cold-blooded killer. His tone was teasing, not cruel. I'm Jasper, Gamma of the Royal Guard. Sage. I know. He tilted his head, studying her with open curiosity instead of judgment. How are you holding up? Can't be easy being thrown into all this. The genuine concern in his voice caught her off guard. Nobody had asked how she was doing. Not once since she'd arrived. I'm managing. That's palace speak for barely surviving, isn't it? Jasper's grin softened into something kinder. Look, I know everyone here's been giving you the cold shoulder. They're idiots. Don't take it personally. Something about him felt familiar, like she'd seen him before, maybe in passing. But Sage couldn't place it, and honestly, she was too grateful for the friendly face to care. Thanks. That's actually nice to hear. Well, if you ever need someone to show you around, or just need to escape the Ice King for a bit, I'm usually training in the Eastern Courtyard. Jasper started walking backwards, still smiling. Fair warning, though. I'm terrible at giving directions. You'll probably end up more lost than you started. Despite everything, Sage felt her lips twitch. Almost a smile. I'll keep that in mind. See you around, future queen. He gave a mock salute and disappeared around the corner. Sage stood there for a moment, something warm and unexpected blooming in her chest. A friend. Maybe. Possibly. Someone who'd actually talk to her like she was a person. It felt strange, but good. The day before the wedding, Sage woke to find her chambers filled with servants. They descended on her like a swarm, measuring, pinning, debating fabric choices in rapid whispers. The silver threading here? No, gold would complement her skin better. What about the train? Should it be longer? Mira appeared at Sage's elbow, looking both amused and sympathetic. They're finalising your wedding gown, my lady. Try to breathe through it. Sage let them position her on a platform there, strip her down to her undergarments and drape endless yards of fabric over her body. The gown was stunning, ivory silk with intricate embroidery that caught the light, but it required a corset underneath, and the seamstress kept yanking the laces tighter and tighter. Can you breathe? Mira whispered. Barely, Sage gasped. The fitting took hours. By the time they finished, Sage's ribs ached and her head pounded. But when she looked in the mirror, even she had to admit the result was breathtaking. She looked like a queen, not like herself at all. Wedding morning arrived too fast. Sage woke before dawn, her stomach churning. Today. She was getting married today. Marking and being marked by a male she'd known for less than a week. Mira arrived with breakfast, which Sage couldn't eat, and an army of servants who immediately began the process of bathing, styling, and dressing her. The corset was even worse than she remembered. The seamstress pulled the laces so tight that Sage saw stars. Tighter, my lady, the woman said. It must be perfect. If it gets any tighter, I'll pass out, Sage managed. Beauty requires sacrifice. Beauty requires being conscious, Sage shot back, gripping the bedpost. The door opened. Everyone froze. Theron stood in the doorway, dressed in formal black with silver embroidery. He looked massive, powerful, and completely out of place in the feminine space of Sage's chambers. His silver eyes swept the room, landing on Sage in her half-laced corset and underskirts. Something flickered in his expression, too fast to read. "Out," he said quietly. The servants scattered like leaves in a storm. Even Mira hesitated only a moment before bowing and slipping through the door. It clicked shut behind them. Silence stretched between them. Sage clutched her corset to her chest, suddenly very aware of how exposed she was. "You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony. That's a human tradition." Theron moved closer, his footsteps silent despite his size. "Turn around." "What?" "Turn around. I'll finish the lacing." Sage blinked. "You know how to lace a corset?" "I'm 200 years old. I've picked up a few skills." His tone was dry. "Turn. Around." Sage turned, her heart hammering. She felt his presence behind her. Warm, solid, overwhelming. His fingers brushed her bare back as he took hold of the laces, and electricity shot down her spine. He pulled, not as harsh as the seamstress, but firm and efficient. The corset tightened, shaping her waist. "Breathe," Theron commanded. Sage sucked in air. He pulled again, adjusting, evening out the tension. His movements were surprisingly gentle for someone so large. "I never understood this," he muttered, threading the laces through another set of holes. "Why women let themselves be bound like this? Can you even breathe properly?" "Not really." Sage's voice came out breathier than she intended, but apparently beauty requires suffering. Beauty requires stupidity, more like. He tied off the laces with practiced efficiency. "There. That should hold without cutting off your air supply." Sage turned to face him, expecting him to step back. He didn't. They stood close, too close, his silver eyes studying her with an intensity that made her breath catch for entirely different reasons. "You look terrified," he observed. "I'm about to marry a cursed king who could kill me if his wolf changes its mind." Sage lifted her chin. "Terrified seems reasonable." His lips twitched. "Fair point. Are you terrified?" The question surprised them both. Theron's expression shifted, something almost vulnerable flickering across his face before the ice returned. "I'm terrified I'll ruin this," he admitted quietly. "That my wolf will reject you after all, that I'll wake up one day and feel nothing again." He paused. "That you'll realize what a mistake this was and try to run." Sage's throat tightened. "I'm not running. I have nowhere to run to." "I know." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. "That's the only reason you're still here, isn't it?" She should lie, should say something about duty or honor or any of the pretty words people used for arrangements like this, but Theron had been honest with her. The least she could do was return the favor. "Yes," Sage whispered. "That's the only reason." Something painful crossed his face. Then he nodded once, dropped his hand and stepped back. "The ceremony starts in 2 hours. I'll see you at the altar." He left without another word. Sage stood there in her perfectly laced corset, her skin still tingling where he'd touched her, wondering what the hell she just felt. The ceremony was held in the Great Hall, transformed with silver banners and winter flowers. Hundreds of wolves packed the space, nobility, warriors, visiting alphas, come to witness the cursed king finally take a mate. Sage walked down the aisle alone, no father to give her away, no family standing proud. Just her in an ivory gown that cost more than her life was worth, moving toward a male who'd chosen her because his wolf didn't reject her. Theron waited at the altar. He watched her approach with those empty silver eyes, his expression unreadable. When she reached him, he offered his hand. Sage took it, and the crowd fell silent. The efficient and ancient wolf who served as the kingdom's high priest began the traditional words. Sage barely heard them. Her heart was pounding too loud, her corset too tight, everything too much. Then came the vows. "Do you, Theron Frost, take this female as your mate, your queen, your equal in all things?" "I do." His voice carried across the hall, strong and certain. "And do you, Sage Matthews, take this male as your mate, your king, your equal in all things?" Sage looked up at Theron, at his hard face and cold eyes and the emptiness that matched her own. This wasn't love. This wasn't even close. But it was survival. It was escape. It was a chance at something that wasn't pain. "I do," the priest smiled. "Then, by the power of the moon goddess and the laws of our kind, I pronounce you mated. You may mark your queen, your majesty." Theron's eyes flashed silver bright. his wolf rising to the surface. He pulled Sage closer, one hand sliding into her hair, tilting her head to expose her neck. She felt his breath against her skin, warm and steady. "This will hurt," he murmured, quiet enough that only she could hear. "I know." His canines extended, and then he bit down. Pain exploded through Sage's neck, white-hot and all-consuming. She gasped, her fingers digging into Theron's shoulders as the mate mark seared itself into her skin. The bond snapped into place, not the gentle warmth of a fated mate, but something darker, rawer. Two broken souls forcibly connected. Theron held her through it, his arms steady, keeping her upright when her knees went weak. When he finally pulled back, blood stained his lips. The mark on her neck throbbed, already starting to scar. "Your turn," he said quietly. Sage's canines extended. She'd never marked anyone before. Kieran had rejected her before it got that far. But instinct guided her as she rose on her toes, pressed her mouth to the junction of Theron's neck and shoulder, and bit down. His blood filled her mouth, hot and metallic. The bonds solidified, cementing them together. Theron made a low sound, not quite pain, not quite pleasure, and his grip on her tightened. When Sage released him, the mark gleamed red against his skin. The priest raised his arms. "I present to you King Theron and Queen Sage of Frostpeak." The hall erupted in applause. Not enthusiastic, more obligatory, but loud enough. Theron turned to face the crowd, keeping Sage at his side. His hand found hers, their fingers interlacing. To everyone watching, they probably looked like a proper mated pair. Nobody could see how tightly Sage was holding on, how close she was to falling apart. Nobody except Theron, whose thumb traced gentle circles against her palm. It was the smallest gesture, but somehow it helped. The reception was held in the banquet hall. Tables overflowed with food and wine. Music played. Wolves danced and laughed and celebrated. Sage sat at the high table next to Theron, picking at her plate. The mark on her neck burned, a constant reminder of what she'd just done, what she'd just become. "You should eat something," Theron murmured. "You haven't touched your food. Not hungry. You need your strength." His tone left no room for argument. "Eat." Sage forced down a few bites of roasted meat. It tasted like ash. Movement at the entrance caught her eye. 3 figures pushed through the crowd. Sage's blood turned to ice. Her father, her mother, Iris and Kieran right behind them. They'd come. Of course they'd come, probably hoping to see her fail, to watch the cursed king realize his mistake. Marcus's eyes found hers across the room. He smiled, cold and cruel, and started walking toward the high table. "No," Sage whispered. Theron's head snapped toward her. "What's wrong? My family. They're here." His expression went deadly cold. "Do you want me to have them removed?" "Yes, goddess, yes, but that would look weak, would give them satisfaction." "No," Sage forced out. "I can handle them." But she wasn't sure she believed it. Marcus reached the high table and bowed, the gesture mocking. "Your Majesties, what an honor to be invited to celebrate." "We didn't invite you," Theron said flatly. "Ah, but surely you wanted Sage's family present on her special day." Helena stepped forward, her smile saccharine sweet. "We were so surprised to hear she'd actually made it through the week. We thought for sure." She didn't finish, but the implication hung in the air. They'd thought Theron would kill her. Iris moved closer, her arm looped through Kieran's. "You look beautiful, sister, though I hardly recognized you in such fine clothes." Her eyes glittered with malice. "Playing dress-up as queen must be fun while it lasts." Sage's nails dug into her palms. "Don't react. Don't give them the satisfaction. We should talk," Marcus said, his tone leaving no room for refusal. "Family business. Privately." "No," Sage started. "Just for a moment." Helena's smile widened. "Unless you're too important now to speak with your own parents." Trapped. They'd trapped her perfectly. If she refused, she looked cruel. If she agreed, she gave them power. Theron's hand covered hers. "My queen doesn't have to. It's fine." Sage stood, her legs shaking. 1 minute. She followed them to a side corridor, away from the celebrating crowd. The moment they were alone, Marcus's pleasant expression vanished. "What game are you playing?" he snarled. "I'm not." "Don't lie to me," his voice cracked like a whip. "You're nobody, nothing. And suddenly you're queen? You must have done something. Seduced him, tricked him somehow." "I didn't do anything," Sage shot back. "His wolf accepted me, that's all." Iris laughed, the sound cruel. "Please, we all know what you are. A pathetic, worthless. Careful." Sage's voice came out steadier than she felt. I'm queen now. You might want to watch your tone. Queen, Helena spat. You're playing at being queens, duh. Living in a pretty castle with a male who'll tire of you soon enough. We all know he's cursed, that his wolf will reject you eventually. She leaned closer. And when that happens, when he throws you out or kills you, don't come crawling back to Hollowbrook. You made your choice. I'd rather die than go back there, Sage whispered. That can be arranged. Marcus moved faster than she'd expected, his hand rising. The slap never connected. Because suddenly Theron was there, his massive hand catching Marcus's wrist mid-swing. The sound of bones grinding together echoed in the corridor. You dare. Theron's voice was soft, deadly. You dare attempt to strike my mate? Marcus's face went white. She's my daughter. She's my queen. Theron twisted and Marcus cried out as his arm bent at an unnatural angle. And you just tried to assault her in my castle on our wedding day. Please. Theron released him. Marcus stumbled back, cradling his wrist. Before anyone could react, Theron's hand lashed out, a sharp, brutal slap that sent Marcus sprawling to the floor. The sound echoed. Final. Decisive. Helena screamed. Iris gasped. Kieran looked like he wanted to run. How dare you? Theron continued, his tone conversational now. Almost pleasant. You come to my home, you insult my mate, you attempt violence against the Queen of Frostpeak. He glanced at the guards who'd appeared at the sound of commotion. Take him to the dungeons. Beat him. Make sure he understands the consequences of touching what's mine. No. Helena lunged forward. You can't. He's an alpha. He's nothing. Theron's eyes were pure ice. And if any of you ever approach my mate again, I'll do worse than a beating. Do I make myself clear? The guards grabbed Marcus, who was still dazed from the slap. They dragged him away, his protests fading down the corridor. Theron turned to Sage. Did you want me to stop them? Sage looked at her father being hauled away, thought about 20 years of beatings, of starvation and cruelty, and being told she was worthless. No, she whispered. Let them take him. Something flickered in Theron's expression, almost approval. He nodded once, then turned back to Helena, Iris and Kieran. Leave, now. If I see any of you in my territory again, I won't be so merciful. They ran, actually ran, stumbling over themselves to get away. Silence fell in the corridor. Sage stood there, shaking, barely able to process what had just happened. Theron stepped closer. Are you all right? He slapped my father. Sage's voice sounded distant to her own ears. You slapped him. For me. He tried to hit you first. Theron's hand came up, gentle this time, tilting her chin so she had to meet his eyes. Nobody touches you, nobody hurts you. Not anymore. Something cracked inside Sage's chest. Not her heart, that had broken long ago, but something else. Some wall she'd built to survive. Why? The word came out broken. You barely know me. You're mine now. Theron's thumb traced her cheekbone. And I protect what's mine. It wasn't love. It wasn't even kindness, really. But it was protection. It was safety. It was someone finally standing between her and the people who'd spent 20 years destroying her. Sage's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. Thank you. Theron nodded once. Then he offered his arm. Come, it's our wedding arm, and let him lead her back to the celebration. Back to the music and laughter. Back to wolves who now looked at her with something close to respect. Behind them, her father's screams echoed from the dungeons. And for the first time in her life, Sage didn't feel guilty about it. She felt satisfied. Chapter 5. Standing Ground. The knock came exactly 1 week after the wedding. Sage was in the library with Jasper, who'd been teaching her the layout of the castle through ridiculous stories about getting lost in various wings. She'd actually laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. And then I ended up in the wine cellar at 3 a.m, Jasper was saying, grinning. Cook thought I was a thief and chased me out with a ladle. Your Majesty. Mira appeared in the doorway, her expression troubled. You have visitors, your mother and sister. The laughter died in Sage's throat. What? They're in the receiving room. They're insistent. Sage's hands went cold. Tell them I'm busy. I tried. They said they're not leaving until they speak with you. Mira twisted her fingers together. Should I get His Majesty? No. Sage stood, her jaw set. I'll handle this. Jasper rose too. Want backup? I'll be fine. She hoped that was true, but thank you. Helena and Iris waited in the receiving room, both dressed in their finest gowns, like they were paying a social call instead of showing up unannounced at the castle of the male who'd thrown their husband and father in a dungeon. Sage, Helena's voice was cold. Finally, we've been waiting 20 minutes. You shouldn't be here. Sage closed the door behind her, staying near it. Escape route. Always have an escape route. Theron told you not to come back. We had no choice. Iris examined her nails, bored. Since you decided to let your father rot in a dungeon for a week, Sage? Do you have any idea what that's done to our family's reputation? Sage blinked. That's what you're worried about, reputation? What else would we worry about? Helena stepped closer, her expression hardening into the familiar mask of disappointment. You've humiliated us. Again, first the murder accusation, now this? Having your own father beaten and imprisoned? He tried to hit me, Sage said flatly. On my wedding day. Because you provoked him. Iris's voice rose, acting all high and mighty, pretending to be queen when everyone knows you're just temporary. The cursed king will tire of you soon enough. And then where will you be? Certainly not welcome back in Hollowbrook after this stunt. Good. The word came out stronger than Sage expected. I don't want to come back. Helena's eyes flashed. Don't be dramatic. You think this is real? You think he actually cares about you? She laughed, cruel and sharp. He chose you because his wolf was desperate enough to accept anyone, even you. Even the murderer, Iris added, smiling. Even the worthless daughter nobody wanted. You got lucky, sister, but luck runs out. Something hot and angry built in Sage's chest. 20 years of this, 20 years of being told she was nothing, that she deserved every hit and every cruel word. But she wasn't in Hollowbrook anymore. You're right, Sage said quietly. I did get lucky. Lucky enough to escape a pack that spent 2 decades using me as a punching bag. Lucky enough to find somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't there. How dare you, Helena started. No. Sage's voice cracked like a whip. You don't get to how dare me anymore. You don't get to walk in here and tell me I'm ungrateful or dramatic or wrong. She took a step forward and both her mother and sister actually stepped back. You want to talk about father? The same father who broke 3 of my ribs when I was 14, who split my lips so many times I lost count? That father? He was disciplining you, Helena snapped. You were always so difficult. I was a child. Sage's hands were shaking. I was a child and you let him beat me bloody while you stood there and blamed me for it. Both of you. She turned to Iris. And you took my rejected mate just to hurt me. You pushed me downstairs. You made my life hell because you could. Iris's perfect face twisted. Oh, please, you're being dramatic. It wasn't that bad. It was that bad. Sage's voice broke. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done pretending it was okay. I'm done acting like I deserved it. And I'm especially done letting you come here and gaslight me into feeling guilty for finally having someone defend me. Defend you? Helena's laugh was bitter. He's using you, you stupid girl. And when he's done, when his wolf rejects you like Kieran did, you'll have nowhere to go. We're your family. We're all you have. No. Sage met her mother's eyes. You're not my family. Family doesn't do what you did. Family doesn't spend 20 years destroying someone and then act surprised when that person runs. Silence fell, sharp and dangerous. Then Iris smiled, that same cruel smile she'd worn their whole lives. You're really feeling yourself, aren't you? 1 week of playing queen and suddenly you think you're special. She moved closer, her voice dropping to a poisonous whisper. But we both know the truth. You're still the same worthless girl who couldn't even keep her fated mate. You're still nothing. The words would have hurt once. But looking at Iris now, at her perfectly styled hair and expensive dress and empty, vicious eyes, Sage felt nothing except pity. You're right, Sage said softly. I am the same girl who survived everything you threw at her, who kept breathing even when you tried to break her, who's still standing while you're scrambling to maintain power over someone who doesn't answer to you anymore. She walked to the door, opened it. Guards stood outside. They'd probably been listening to everything. Escort my mother and sister out, Sage said clearly. They're not welcome here. Sage, Helena started, and tell the dungeon master to release my father. The words tasted like ash, but Sage forced them out. He suffered enough, Your Majesty. The guards bowed and moved to flank Helena and Iris. This isn't over, Helena hissed as they were led away. You can't just... It is over. Sage's voice was steady now, final. Don't come back. The door closed behind them. Sage stood there, her whole body shaking, adrenaline flooding her system. She'd done it. She'd actually stood up to them. Footsteps approached from the shadows near the window. Sage spun, her heart jumping. Theron stepped into the light. He'd been there the whole time, watching. How long? Sage started. Long enough. His silver eyes studied her with something that might have been approval, might have been pride. You handled that well. I told them to release my father. Sage's voice cracked. I know you wanted him to rot there. He should rot there. Theron moved closer. He deserves worse than a week in a dungeon for what he did to you. I know, but... Sage wrapped her arms around herself. If he stays, they'll keep coming back. They'll keep using it as leverage. I just want them gone. Theron was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded once. I'll have him released. But if he or any of them set foot in Frostpeak again, I won't be merciful. Thank you. You're ready, Theron said suddenly. Sage blinked. Ready for what? To be queen. His lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. You just proved it. Something warm bloomed in Sage's chest. Not love. She still didn't know what that felt like. But something close to it. Something that felt like belonging. The next few weeks passed in a strange, tentative peace. Sage found herself spending more time with Jasper. He was easy to be around. Funny, warm, completely unthreatening. He'd show up at random times with ridiculous excuses to steal her away from boring council meetings or tedious diplomatic dinners. Come on, he'd say, grinning. You need a break. Let me show you the training grounds, or the gardens, or the kitchens where Cook made the best honey cakes, or the tower where you could see 3 kingdoms on a clear day. Sage knew people were talking, could feel their eyes tracking her every time she laughed at one of Jasper's jokes. But she didn't care. For the first time in her life, she had a friend, someone who actually wanted to spend time with her. It was innocent. Completely innocent, but apparently not everyone saw it that way. You're spending a lot of time with Gamma Jasper. Sage looked up from her book. Theron stood in the doorway of the library, his expression carefully neutral. Too neutral. He's nice, Sage said carefully. He's been helping me adjust. I noticed. Theron moved into the room, his presence somehow making the massive space feel smaller. The whole castle has noticed. Is that a problem? Should it be? They stared at each other. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. He's my friend, Sage said finally. Just my friend. Does he know that? What's that supposed to mean? Theron's jaw tightened. It means he looks at you like you're more than just a friend, and you're either blind or naive if you haven't noticed. Sage closed her book with more force than necessary. Even if that were true, which I don't think it is, what does it matter? You and I have a deal, remember? A broken wolf arrangement, not a real marriage. Something flickered in Theron's eyes, something that looked almost like hurt. Is that what you think this is? Isn't it? Sage stood, crossing her arms. You needed a queen. I needed an escape. Your wolf accepts me, which is more than you've gotten in decades, but that's not the same as wanting me. You think I don't want you? Theron's voice dropped, dangerous and low. He moved closer and Sage's breath caught. You think I haven't noticed every time you laugh, every time you smile at something Jasper says? You think I haven't wanted to? He stopped himself, jaw clenching. Wanted to what? Sage's heart was racing now. Theron didn't answer. Just stared at her with those molten silver eyes, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. Then he turned and walked away. That night, Sage couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the confrontation in the library. The way Theron had looked at her. The jealousy that had been written all over his carefully controlled face. You think I don't want you? The words echoed in her mind, making her skin feel too tight. A knock at her door made her jump. Come in. Theron entered, still dressed in his formal clothes from dinner. He looked exhausted, haunted. We need to talk, he said. Sage sat up in bed, pulling the covers around herself. About what? About the rumours. Theron crossed to the fireplace, staring into the flames. About my past, the females I've supposedly killed or exiled. Sage's throat went dry. Okay, most of it's not true. His voice was flat, emotionless. The rumours about me killing females who displeased me? Lies. I've never killed anyone who didn't deserve it. Enemies in battle, traitors to the crown, not innocent females. Then why do people believe it? Because I didn't stop them. Theron turned to face her. After Lara, my fated mate, tried to poison me, something broke inside. My wolf went dark, cold. I couldn't feel anything anymore. No joy, no anger, just emptiness. Sage knew that feeling, knew it intimately. I brought females here, Theron continued, dozens over the decades, hoping my wolf would accept one, but he rejected them all within weeks. I sent them away with generous settlements. New homes, new lives away from the stigma of being the cursed king's discarded mate. But people twisted it, made me into a monster. Why are you telling me this? Sage whispered. Because I need you to understand. Theron moved closer to the bed. When I saw you in that hall, looking at me like you understood what it meant to be hollow inside, my wolf woke up. For the first time in a century, I felt something. Sage's breath caught. What did you feel? Recognition. He sat on the edge of the bed, close but not touching. You're broken like me, and somehow that made everything else bearable. I'm not sure that's romantic, Sage tried to joke, but her voice shook. It's not, it's honest. Theron's hand moved, hesitating, then cupped her cheek. His palm was warm, calloused. I'm not good at this, at feelings or words or any of it. But I need you to know, I don't want you to be just my queen. I don't want this to be just a deal. What do you want? Sage leaned into his touch despite herself. I want you to look at me the way you look at Jasper, like I'm someone worth knowing. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I want to be the one who makes you laugh. He stopped himself, but Sage saw it in his eyes. The want, the need, the desperate, aching loneliness that matched her own. I don't know how to do this, Sage admitted. I don't know how to be with someone who might actually care, Theron finished. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. It wasn't a declaration of love, wasn't poetry or grand gestures, but it was real. Sage reached up, covering his hand with hers. Okay? Let's figure it out together. Theron's eyes darkened. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, his lips met hers. The kiss was tentative at first, careful, like neither of them quite remembered how to do this. Then Sage's hands found his hair, and Theron made a low sound in his throat, pulling her closer. The bond between them flared to life, hot and electric and real. Sage gasped against his mouth, and Theron deepened the kiss, his hands sliding into her hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Theron rested his forehead against hers. Stay tonight, Sage whispered. Are you sure? No, she laughed, breathless. But I want you to stay anyway. Theron kissed her again. Deeper this time, more certain. His hands found the ties of her nightgown, and Sage's fingers worked at the buttons of his shirt. They fell back onto the bed together, two broken wolves finally finding something that felt like home in each other. Later, as Sage lay wrapped in Theron's arms, his steady heartbeat against her back, she felt something she hadn't felt in 20 years. Safe. Not healed. She wasn't naive enough to think one night could fix everything broken inside her. But safe. Wanted. Like maybe she mattered to someone after all. Theron's arm tightened around her waist. Still awake? Yeah. What are you thinking? Sage smiled into the darkness. That maybe broken isn't the worst thing to be if it means finding someone else who understands. Theron pressed a kiss to her shoulder, right over the mate mark he'd left weeks ago. Maybe not. And for the first time since arriving in Frost Peak, Sage fell asleep without nightmares. Chapter 6. The Seeds of Betrayal. Sage woke up smiling. That was new. Waking up happy instead of bracing for whatever fresh hell the day would bring. But Theron's arm was wrapped around her waist, his breath warm against her neck, and for the first time in her entire life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. You're thinking too loud, Theron mumbled against her shoulder. Go back to sleep. Can't. Too happy. He lifted his head, silver eyes still heavy with sleep, but warming as they focused on her. Happy? Yeah. Sage turned in his arms, facing him. Is that allowed for you? Always. He kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her lips. Soft and sweet and nothing like the cold, empty king everyone feared. Though I should warn you, if you keep smiling like that, I'm never letting you leave this bed. Promises. Promises. They'd been like this for 2 weeks now. Ever since that first night, something had shifted between them. Theron still had his walls, his cold moments, when the weight of ruling pressed down on him. But with Sage, he was different, warmer, almost vulnerable. It terrified her how much she was starting to care. A knock at the door made them both groan. "Your Majesty?" Mira's voice, apologetic. "Gamma Jasper has returned from his mission. He's asking to see Queen Sage." Sage sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. "Jasper's back. Tell him I'll meet him in the gardens in 20 minutes. "Of course, my lady." Theron's expression had shifted, not quite cold, but cooler. "You're going to see him? He's my friend, and he's been gone for 3 weeks. Sage touched his cheek. "Don't look at me like that. You know there's nothing between us." "I know." But his jaw was tight. "Just be careful." "Careful of what, Jasper?" Theron didn't answer, just kissed her once more before getting out of bed. "I have a council meeting. I'll see you at dinner?" "See you at dinner." Jasper was waiting by the fountain, looking tired but smiling when he saw her. Your Majesty, look at you, all glowing and queenly." Sage laughed, pulling him into a quick hug. "Stop it. You're not allowed to call me that." "Pretty sure I am now." He stepped back, studying her face. "You look different, happy. What happened while I was gone?" Heat crept up Sage's neck. "Things are good, really good, actually. Theron and I, we're sleeping together." "Jasper? What? I'm right, aren't I?" He grinned, but something flickered in his eyes, something that disappeared too fast to read. "I'm happy for you. Really, you deserve some happiness after everything." They walked through the gardens, Sage telling him about the past few weeks. How Theron had opened up, how they'd started actually talking, actually connecting, how for the first time she felt like maybe this could work. Jasper listened, nodding in all the right places, but his smile seemed forced, brittle. "What?" Sage finally asked. "You're making a face." "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. That's your I'm thinking something I don't want to say face." Jasper sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I don't want to rain on your parade, but are you sure about this?" "Sure about what?" "About Theron. About trusting him." Jasper sat on a stone bench, his expression troubled. "You remind me of someone. The last woman he married, actually. Before you." Sage's stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" "Her name was Celeste. Beautiful, kind, completely smitten with him. She used to talk just like you are now, about how he was different with her, how he was opening up, how they were actually connecting." Jasper's voice dropped. 3 months later, she disappeared. Disappeared? Officially, he sent her away, gave her a new estate, a new life. That's what they told everyone. Jasper met her eyes, his expression deadly serious. "But I was part of the unit assigned to escort her. We never made it to any estate, Sage. We took her to the northern border and he had us kill her." The world tilted. "What?" "I know how it sounds. I know you don't want to believe it." Jasper leaned forward, his voice urgent. "But it's the truth. He does this, gets attached, lets them think they're special. Then when his wolf inevitably rejects them, he doesn't just send them away. He has them killed. Quietly. So no one knows." Sage's hands were shaking. No, that can't be true. He wouldn't." "I'm part of the Gamma unit. We handle the King's delicate matters. I've done this 3 times now, Sage. 3 women who thought they were special, who thought they'd finally reached him." Jasper grabbed her hands. "I'm telling you this because I care about you, because I don't want you to be number 4. "Why would you do it then?" Sage pulled away, her voice rising. "If it's so wrong, why would you follow those orders?" "Because I'm a soldier. Because refusing means my own death. Because—" he looked away. "Because I'm a coward. But I'm trying to warn you now. Be careful. Sleep with one eye open. Don't let yourself believe the sweet words too much." Sage stood, backing away. "I don't believe you." "I know. Celeste didn't believe me either when I tried to warn her." Jasper's expression was pained. "I hope I'm wrong about you. I hope you really are different. But please, just be careful." He left her there in the gardens, alone with doubts that hadn't existed 5 minutes ago. The seeds took root faster than Sage wanted to admit. That night when Theron pulled her into bed, she found herself watching him, studying his face for signs of deception, looking for the monster beneath the man. "You're doing it again," Theron murmured against her neck. "Thinking too loud. Sorry." Sage forced herself to relax. Just tired. But she wasn't tired. She was terrified. He wouldn't, she told herself. He's not like that. Jasper's wrong. He has to be wrong. But doubt was a poison. Once planted, it spread. The next few days passed in a haze of paranoia. Every time Theron touched her, she wondered if it was real. Every sweet word felt suspect. Every smile seemed calculated. He noticed, of course he noticed, but when he asked what was wrong, she lied. Said she was fine. Said she was just adjusting to being queen. She hated herself for doubting him. Hated Jasper for planting those seeds, but she couldn't stop. 2 weeks later, Sage woke up nauseous. She barely made it to the chamber pot before throwing up everything she'd eaten the night before. Her breasts were tender, her body exhausted despite sleeping 10 hours. Mira found her on the floor, pale and shaking. "My lady, are you ill?" "I don't know, Sage retched again, her stomach cramping. "Something's wrong. Or something's very right." Mira's expression shifted to wonder. "My lady, when was your last cycle?" Sage's mind went blank. When was it? She'd been so caught up in everything with Theron she hadn't even noticed. 6 weeks, she whispered. Maybe 7. "I'm calling the healer." The healer confirmed it within an hour. Sage was pregnant, 4, maybe 5 weeks along. "Congratulations, Your Majesty," the elderly woman said, smiling. "The kingdom will be thrilled. An heir to the Lycan throne." Sage sat there, stunned. A baby. She was having Theron's baby. Terror and joy warred inside her chest. This was too fast. Too soon. They'd barely figured out how to be together, and now... But then she thought about Theron's face when she told him. About maybe, possibly building something real. A family. Something that wasn't broken and cruel and painful. "Don't tell anyone yet," Sage said quickly. "I want to tell the king first. Privately." "Of course, Your Majesty." Sage found Jasper in the training yard that afternoon. He was working through sword forms, his movements precise and controlled. "Jasper!" She was breathless, having run through half the castle. "I need to talk to you." He lowered his sword, concern crossing his face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Actually, something's right. Really right." Sage pulled him to a quieter corner. "I'm pregnant." Jasper's expression went blank. "What?" I know, it's fast, but Theron's going to be so happy, and maybe this means..." She stopped, seeing something strange in Jasper's eyes. "What? That's wonderful." His smile looked forced. "Wrong. Congratulations. You don't seem happy." "No, I am. I'm just surprised. That's all." He pulled her into a hug, and Sage tried to ignore how stiff he felt. This calls for a celebration." "Come on, let's go to the kitchens. I'll have Cook make something special." Something felt off, but Sage was too happy, too terrified, too overwhelmed to examine it too closely. She followed Jasper to the kitchens. He insisted she try the special orange juice he'd brought back from his mission. "Just a sip for celebration." Sage took the cup, raised it to her lips. "Wait, I probably shouldn't. The baby. 1 sip won't hurt." Jasper's smile was strange now, too wide. "It's just juice, not alcohol, Sage." Sage hesitated. Then, because he was her friend, because she trusted him, she took a small sip. The juice tasted sweet, yet wrong somehow. "Jasper, this is so nah." The world tilted. Sage's legs gave out, and Jasper caught her before she hit the floor. "I'm sorry," he whispered as her vision went dark, "but you should have been more careful." Sage woke to shouting. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like ash. For a moment she couldn't remember where she was. Then the memories flooded back. Jasper, the juice, the off-taste. She tried to sit up and realized she was on the floor of an unfamiliar room. Theron stood above her, his face carved from ice. Behind him, the council members crowded the doorway, their expressions ranging from shocked to furious. "What?" Sage's voice came out hoarse. "What happened? You were found in Gamma Jasper's private quarters." Declan, Theron's second, said coldly, "in his bed, unconscious." The words didn't make sense. I wasn't. Don't." Theron's voice was dead. Empty. "Don't lie to me. I'm not lying." Sage tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. "Theron, please, I don't know how I got here. Jasper and I were in the kitchens, and then you went to his chambers." One of the council members stepped forward. Lord Garrett, she thought his name was. "Multiple servants saw you entering together." "No." Sage's head spun. "That's not what happened. I'm pregnant, so I went to tell him the good news." "So?" Theron looked shocked at the news. "Pregnancy? She's pregnant?" But then his surprise turned into rage. "Why would he be the first to know of your pregnancy if that's the case then?" Even Sage knew she'd sound stupid no matter what she said right now. Why had she rushed to tell Jasper? That was stupid. I! Enough!" Theron's hand clenched into a fist. I trusted you. I let myself believe. He stopped, his jaw working. I was a fool, Your Majesty. Jasper appeared in the doorway, flanked by guards. His clothes were dishevelled, his expression anguished. I'm so sorry. I know I deserve death. I know what I've done is unforgivable. Sage's blood went cold. What are you talking about? I can't lie anymore. Jasper dropped to his knees, his head bowed. Queen Sage and I, we've been having an affair. It started shortly after she arrived. I know it was wrong. I know I betrayed you, my king, but His voice broke. I fell in love with her. The room erupted in chaos. Council members shouting, guards moving forward, someone calling for the dungeon master. Sage couldn't breathe, couldn't think. That's a lie! Theron, he's lying! I would never. The pregnancy, Jasper continued, his voice barely audible. It's mine. We've been careful, but... Stop! Sage screamed. Stop lying! Why are you doing this? But no one was listening to her. They were all looking at Theron, whose face had gone completely blank, empty, like something had shattered inside him beyond repair. Theron, please. Sage crawled toward him, her hands reaching. Please, you have to believe me. I would never betray you. I love... Don't. The word was soft, final. Don't say that word. Not now. Your Majesty, Lord Garrett said carefully. They must both be executed. By law, infidelity against the crown is treason. No, Sage's voice cracked. I didn't do anything. Theron, please. Theron stared at her for a long moment. She saw the war in his eyes, the desire to believe her fighting against the evidence, the doubt, the broken trust. Just take them to the dungeons, he said finally, both of them. Your Majesty, Declan started. Now. Guards grabbed Sage's arms, hauling her to her feet. She fought, screaming, begging Theron to listen, but he'd already turned away. Jasper was dragged out first, still maintaining his false confession. Sage was pulled after him, her pleas echoing through the corridors. Why? She sobbed as they descended into the dungeons. Why are you doing this? Jasper didn't answer, didn't even look at her. They threw her into a cell, cold, dark, smelling of mould and despair. The door clanged shut. Sage collapsed on the stone floor, her body shaking with sobs. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. She was pregnant with Theron's baby, and everyone thought, no, she whispered into the darkness. 3 weeks passed, or maybe it was 3 days. Time felt meaningless down there. Sage learned through the guards' whispered conversations that Theron had locked himself in his chambers, refused to see anyone, including her. The council was pushing for immediate execution, but he wouldn't sign the order. He still loves her, one guard muttered, even after what she did. He's weak for her, should just kill them both and be done with it. But on the last day of the last week, footsteps descended the stairs, multiple sets. Declan appeared outside her cell, flanked by council members. His expression was carefully neutral. Queen Sage, or should I say, former queen, His Majesty has made his decision. Sage stood on shaking legs. I want to see him. I need to. The king does not wish to see you. Declan's voice was cold. The council advised him that seeing you would only cloud his judgment. You've already warped his mind once. We won't let it happen again. I never, Sage's voice broke. I never did anything wrong. Please, you have to believe me. The evidence is clear. Gamma Jasper's confession, the servant's testimony, your presence in his chambers. Lord Garrett stepped forward. By rights, you should both be executed, but His Majesty has shown mercy. Mercy. The word tasted like poison. You and Jasper are banished from Frost Peak, Declan continued. You'll be escorted to the southern border and released. You're forbidden from ever returning. If you do, you'll be killed on sight. The baby, Sage's hand went to her stomach. Theron's baby. That bastard belongs to the traitor Jasper, Lord Garrett spat. His Majesty wants nothing to do with it. No. Sage fell to her knees. No, please, you have to let me see him. Just once. Let me explain. The decision is final. Declan nodded to the guards. Prepare them for transport. They leave at dawn. They dragged her out of the cell. Sage screamed Theron's name until her voice gave out. Screamed until they gagged her and threw her in a transport wagon next to Jasper, who still wouldn't meet her eyes. As the wagon rolled toward the southern border, Sage pressed her face to the bars, watching Frost Peak's towers disappear into the distance. Somewhere in that castle, Theron was grieving a betrayal that never happened, hating her for crimes she didn't commit, believing lies told by the only friend she trusted, and she was powerless to stop it. The wagon rolled on, taking her away from everything, from safety, from belonging, from love, taking her right back to being nothing. Chapter 7. The Return. The wagon stopped at the southern border, and the guards didn't even bother opening the door properly. They just shoved it open and dragged Sage out, throwing her onto the dirt road. "Don't come back!" One of them spat. King's orders. Jasper was tossed out next, landing beside her. Before Sage could even process what was happening, the wagon was already turning around, heading back to Frost Peak, back to the castle that had briefly been her home, back to Theron, who thought she'd betrayed him. Sage lay there in the dirt, watching the wagon disappear into the distance. Her body ached, her head pounded, and her heart felt like it had been ripped out of her chest. "Sage!" Jasper's voice was quiet. "I'm sorry." She turned her head slowly, looking at him. Really looking at him. "Why? You destroyed my life." Her voice was flat, dead. "You lied. You made everyone think I—" Her breath caught. "Why?" Jasper stood, brushing dirt from his clothes. His expression was carefully blank. "I had to." "Why?" "I'm sorry," he repeated. Then he walked away, heading north toward the rogue territories. Sage watched him go, too numb to even feel angry, too broken to care. She was alone, pregnant, banished from the only place that had ever felt safe, and she had nowhere to go. The walk back to Hollowbrook took 3 days. Sage had no money, no supplies, nothing except the clothes on her back and the baby growing inside her. She slept in the woods, drank from streams, ate whatever berries she could find that weren't poisonous. By the time she reached Hollowbrook's borders, she was exhausted, starving, and so hollow inside she felt like a ghost. Part of her wanted to just keep walking into the deep woods where the rogues hunted, let them find her, let them end this nightmare. But her hand kept drifting to her stomach, to the tiny life growing there. Theron's baby, she thought fiercely, no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone believes. This is his child. And she couldn't let that child die just because she was broken. So she walked through Hollowbrook's gates with her head held high. Even though her legs shook with every step, the reaction was immediate. "Is that Sage Matthews? I thought she was queen now." Guess the cursed king finally saw through her. Pack members gathered, their expressions ranging from shock to disgust to savage satisfaction. They whispered behind their hands, pointed, sneered. "The murderer's back. I heard she cheated on the Lycan King. Pregnant with another man's bastard, I bet. Disgrace. Absolute disgrace." Sage kept walking, ignoring them all. She knew where she was going, knew what waited for her there. Her parents' house loomed ahead, exactly as she remembered it, the place where she'd spent 20 years being destroyed piece by piece. She knocked on the door. It swung open to reveal her mother, whose expression went from surprise to cold rage in half a second. The slap came so fast, Sage didn't have time to brace for it. Her head snapped to the side, pain exploding across her cheek. "You dare!" Helena hissed. "Come back here? After everything?" Sage straightened slowly, tasting blood. "I have nowhere else to go." "Good, you deserve to have nowhere." Her mother's voice was poison. "You embarrassed this family, made us a laughingstock, the daughter who became queen for 5 minutes before being thrown out for adultery." "I didn't. Shut up. I don't want to hear your lies." Footsteps behind Helena. Iris appeared, Kieran at her side, both of them looking like they'd just won the lottery. "Well, well, well." Iris's smile was pure venom. "Look who's back. Did I not tell you? Did I not say he'd discard you? That you shouldn't get used to that life?" "Iris, now look at you. Back here so fast and with a bastard in you even." Iris laughed, the sound cruel and sharp. "Guess a leopard can never change its skin after all." Marcus pushed past the women, his expression thunderous. The week he'd spent in Theron's dungeons had left him thinner, meaner, with new scars and a burning hatred in his eyes. "You," he growled. "You're the reason I was tortured, beaten, humiliated. You tried to hit me," Sage said quietly, "on my wedding day. And I should have succeeded." He moved closer and Sage forced herself not to step back. "You're a stain on this family, always have been." "My wedding is in 2 weeks," Iris announced, twirling to show off her engagement ring. "To Kieran, finally, and I hate, absolutely hate that I'll be linked to such a disgraceful sister on my special day." Maybe we should just kill her, Kieran suggested casually, like he was discussing the weather. Put her out of everyone's misery. Father, Iris turned to Marcus, her eyes bright with malice. Can we? Just claw her eyes out or something? She's a disgrace after all. Marcus studied Sage with cold calculation. Tempting. Sage's hand moved protectively to her stomach. I'm pregnant. With a bastard, Helena spat. That changes nothing. Please. The word tasted like ash. I just need somewhere to stay. Just until... Until what? Until you ruin more lives? Iris crossed her arms. Why should we help you? Because I'm your sister, Sage wanted to scream. Because I'm your daughter. Because after everything you did to me, the least you can do is give me shelter. But she knew better than to say any of that. I'll work, she said instead, her voice hollow. I'll do whatever you want. Just let me stay. Iris's expression shifted, cunning replacing the rage. Actually, yes, that could work. What? Helena looked at her daughter sharply. Think about it, Mother. My wedding is in 2 weeks. We need extra help. Iris's smile widened. And what better way to show everyone that we're the bigger people than to take in our wayward sister? Give her a chance at redemption through service. The hypocrisy was breathtaking, but Sage kept her face blank, waiting. She'll be my personal maid, Iris continued, warming to the idea. Available at my beck and call, and everyone will see how merciful we are, taking her back after she shamed us. Marcus nodded slowly. It does make us look good. So? Iris turned to Sage, her expression sickeningly sweet. Do you agree to my benevolence? Will you serve me properly, dear sister? Every cell in Sage's body screamed to refuse. To walk away with whatever dignity she had left, but she had nowhere to go. No money, no resources, and a baby who needed to survive. Yes, Sage whispered. I agree. The next 2 weeks were hell. Iris worked her like a dog. Sage was up before dawn, cleaning, cooking, running errands. She hauled water, scrubbed floors, did all the dirty work she'd done her whole life, but now while pregnant and exhausted and broken. Iris took special pleasure in it. Would accidentally spill things for Sage to clean up, would change her outfit 5 times in an hour just to make Sage iron and re-iron her clothes, would send her on pointless errands across the pack territory just to watch her struggle. You're getting fat, Iris commented one morning, eyeing Sage's slightly rounded stomach with disgust. Pregnancy doesn't suit you. Sage bit her tongue and kept ironing. At night, she collapsed in the tiny servant's room they'd given her, barely more than a closet, and tried not to think about Frostpeak, about Theron, about the life she'd lost. But it was impossible not to think about him, not when every time she closed her eyes she saw his face. The way he'd looked at her in that room, so betrayed, so broken. He'd believed Jasper's lies, had thought her capable of betraying him, and she hated him for it almost as much as she still loved him. The wedding day arrived with crisp autumn weather and far too much fanfare. Iris was unbearable, shrieking orders at everyone, changing her mind every 5 minutes about flowers and seating arrangements and which wine to serve. Sage, she screamed from her bedroom. Where are you? You useless? Here. Sage appeared in the doorway, exhausted. She'd been up since 3 a.m. preparing. Finally, help me with this dress, and be careful. If you tear it, I swear I'll be careful. Sage helped her sister into the elaborate gown, lacing it up with steady hands despite wanting to pull the strings tight enough to choke. Iris preened in the mirror, admiring herself from every angle. I look perfect, she announced, unlike some people. Sage said nothing, just finished the lacing and stepped back. You know what the best part is? Iris turned, her smile vicious. Kieran was your mate first, your fated mate, and now he's mine. How does that feel, sister? Like nothing, Sage wanted to say, because she'd felt more with Theron in few months than she'd ever felt with Kieran, but she just bowed her head. Congratulations on your wedding. That's what I thought. Iris swished past her. Now get downstairs and make sure the wine service is ready. We have important guests coming, and I won't have you embarrassing me. The ceremony was held in the pack's main hall, decorated within an inch of its life. Wolves from neighbouring packs had come to witness the union, filling every seat. Sage worked in the background, keeping the wine flowing, the food coming, staying invisible. That's what servants did, became part of the furniture. She was refilling glasses when the whispers started. Is that... No, it can't be. The Lycan King? Sage's head snapped up and her heart stopped. Theron stood in the entrance, massive and imposing in dark formal attire. Declan flanked him on one side, dark warriors on the other. His silver eyes swept the room, cold and assessing. The entire hall had gone silent. Alpha Xavier rushed forward, practically tripping over himself. "Your Majesty, we're honoured by your presence." Theron didn't smile, didn't acknowledge the greeting beyond a slight nod. "I trust you have adequate seating?" "Yes, of course, but we never expected. You never attend 10 pack weddings. You never even leave your palace. I'm here now." Theron moved past Xavier, his warriors parting the crowd. "Your seating arrangements are adequate?" Sage stood frozen, the wine pitcher trembling in her hands. What was he doing here? Why would he come to Hollowbrook, of all places? "Don't look at me," she thought desperately. "Please don't see me. Please." Theron's eyes found hers across the room. Time stopped. For one heartbeat, she saw something flicker in his expression. Pain, maybe. Longing. Regret. Then his face went blank, and he looked away, like she was nothing, like she'd never been anything at all. Sage's chest cracked open, but she forced herself to move, to keep serving, to do her job. The ceremony continued. Iris and Kieran exchanged vows, looking sickeningly pleased with themselves. The guests applauded, music played, and through it all, Sage felt Theron's presence like a physical weight. He sat at the high table, barely touching his food, speaking only when directly addressed. When it came time to serve the wine, Sage had no choice. She had to approach the high table. She poured for Xavier first, then for the bride and groom, keeping her eyes down. Then she moved to Theron. Her hands shook as she lifted the pitcher. She could feel his eyes on her, burning into the top of her head. "Wine, Your Majesty?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Silence. Then, "Yes." She poured, careful not to spill a drop, not to look up, not to let him see how much she was falling apart. When his glass was full, she moved on to Declan without a word. From Theron's perspective, the evening was torture. He shouldn't have come. Knew it was a mistake the moment the invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago. But something had compelled him, some stupid, desperate need to see her, to know she was okay. Because despite everything, despite Jasper's confession and the evidence and the betrayal, he couldn't stop thinking about her, couldn't stop wondering if he'd made a mistake. So he'd ordered scouts to watch Hollowbrook, to report on Sage's movements, and what they'd told him had made his blood boil. She was back with her family, the family who'd tortured her for 20 years, working as a servant, pregnant and exhausted and treated like dirt. And he'd done nothing, because she'd betrayed him, because she'd chosen Jasper, because when she'd approached to pour his wine, every cell in his body had screamed to grab her, to demand answers, to beg her to tell him it was all lies. But she hadn't even looked at him, hadn't met his eyes once, just poured the wine with those steady, broken hands and moved on like he was a stranger, like he meant nothing. "She seems settled," Declan murmured beside him, "with her family." Theron's jaw clenched. "She looks miserable." "Perhaps, or perhaps she's exactly where she wants to be, with her real family, with," Declan paused, "with the father of her child nearby." The words were a knife to the gut, because Jasper had been banished, but he was supposedly the father, supposedly the one Sage had chosen. And if she was happy here, if she was content with him, then everything he'd felt had been a lie. Theron stood abruptly. "We're leaving. Your Majesty," the receptionist has barely started. "Now?" He strode toward the exit, his warriors falling in behind him, didn't look back, didn't let himself search for one more glimpse of dark hair and hollow eyes. Chapter 8. The Truth Unveiled. Sage's feet ached, her back screamed, her stomach cramped from exhaustion and lack of food. Iris had apparently forgotten to assign her food during the reception. The guests had almost cleared, and Sage had one more task. Bring Iris the special wine she'd requested for her and Kieran's private celebration. Sage balanced the tray carefully, heading toward the private wing where the newlyweds had retreated. Her mind was numb, her body moving on autopilot. Just get through tonight. Just survive one more day. Then she'd figure out what to do, where to go, how to protect her baby from voices stopped her mid-step. Did everything you asked. A male voice, angry and desperate. Familiar. Jasper. Sage's blood turned to ice. She pressed herself against the wall, just out of sight around the corner. "I framed Sage like you wanted," Jasper continued, his voice rising. I drugged her. I lied to the king. I destroyed her life and my own career. And for what? You're marrying another man? You didn't even let me join this pack like you promised. Keep your voice down, you idiot. Iris's sharp whisper cut through the hallway. Sage's hands trembled on the tray. No, this couldn't be. You duped me! Jasper sounded like he was falling apart. You said if I helped you get rid of your sister, if I made sure she could never come back to Frostpeak, that we'd be together, that I could join Hollowbrook as your mate. And you believed that? Iris laughed, cold and cruel. Goddess, you're even more pathetic than she is. Did you really think I'd choose you over Kieran, just because you're my stupid fated mate? But you said... I said what I needed to say to get what I wanted, which was Sage destroyed and humiliated, which, thanks to you, worked perfectly. Fabric rustled, Iris adjusting her wedding dress, probably. Now you need to calm the fuck down and stop yelling before someone hears. I'll get back to you later about some kind of compensation, but right now you need to shut your mouth and stay down like you always do. The tray slipped from Sage's numb fingers. The crash echoed through the hallway like thunder. Crystal shattered. Wine spread across the floor in a dark red pool. Iris and Jasper both whipped around, their faces going white. For one moment, nobody moved. Sage stood there, staring at her sister, at the man she'd thought was her friend. As the truth crashed over her like a tidal wave, it had all been her, every single piece of it. Iris had orchestrated the whole thing, had paid Jasper to frame her, had destroyed her life deliberately, systematically, just because... How could you? Sage's voice came out broken, barely above a whisper. What did I do to you? I was gone. I was finally happy. I was somewhere you couldn't hurt me anymore. Why couldn't you just let me have that? Iris recovered first, her expression shifting from shock to cold calculation. Oh, it's just you. Just me? Something snapped inside Sage. 20 years of abuse, of swallowing her pain, of accepting that she deserved it. It all shattered. Just me? She lunged forward, not caring about the broken glass cutting her feet, not caring about anything except getting her hands on her sister. You destroyed my life. You took everything from me. My mate, my home, my... Iris's slap cracked across the hallway. Sage's head snapped to the side, the old familiar pain exploding through her cheek. Because you seem to have started to forget your place, Iris said softly, dangerously, and I needed to remind you that you're nothing and you'll always be nothing. Just the gum stuck to the bottom of my shoe. Sage's vision blurred with tears. She turned to Jasper, who was backing away, unable to meet her eyes. Why? I was your friend. I trusted you. Why would you do this to me? Jasper's face crumpled with guilt, but he said nothing, just kept backing away like a coward. Because he wanted something more than friendship, Iris answered for him, her tone mocking. Wanted me simply because we're fated mates and was stupid enough to believe I'd actually want him back. I'm sorry, Jasper finally whispered, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry, Sage, she said, I thought. You thought you'd get rewarded for destroying an innocent person? Sage's laugh was bitter, broken. You thought that was okay? What's going on here? Marcus's voice boomed from down the hallway. He appeared with Helena, both still in their formal attire from the wedding. Kieran followed behind them, looking annoyed at being interrupted. Iris's expression transformed instantly. Her eyes went wide and terrified, tears springing up like she'd turned on a faucet. She attacked me! Sage attacked me! What? Sage's stomach dropped. She was so jealous about my wedding, about my happiness with Kieran, that she tried to... Iris touched her reddened cheek, the one she'd just used to slap Sage. She hit me! Her own sister on my wedding day. You lying, Sage started. And she's been stealing. Iris continued, warming to her performance. I caught her with the silver wine pitcher. When I confronted her, she went crazy. That's not true. Sage backed away as her family advanced, their expressions darkening with familiar rage. She's lying! She and Jasper set me up. They framed me at Frostpeak. I heard them confessing. More lies, Helena spat. Always more lies with you. We should have killed her when she came back, Marcus growled, his fists clenching. Should have saved ourselves this trouble. They surrounded her, her father, her mother, Iris, Kieran. Even Jasper just stood there uselessly, guilt written all over his face, but doing nothing to help her. Just like always, Sage against all of them. Alone, defenseless. Marcus raised his hand and Sage flinched, her arms coming up to protect her stomach. Protect her baby. The blow never came. A growl ripped through the hallway, so deep, so powerful that the walls themselves seemed to shake. Everyone froze. Theron stepped out of the shadows near the stairwell, his silver eyes blazing with fury. Touch her, and you die. Sage's knees nearly gave out. He was here. But why was he? Your Majesty! Iris's tears dried up instantly, replaced by a simpering smile. Thank goodness, Sage has gone mad. She attacked me. Stop! The single word was a command that couldn't be disobeyed. Theron moved forward and even Marcus backed up. I saw everything, heard everything. The colour drained from Iris's face. You? What? Your conversation with Gamma Jasper, your confession about framing my mate. Theron's voice was soft, deadly. Every single word. No, Jasper was shaking his head, backing away. No, that's not. We didn't. You drugged her, planted her in your chambers, lied about an affair that never happened. Theron's eyes were pure ice as they fixed on Jasper. You destroyed your own honour, your own career, for what? A stupid mate who was using you? I'm sorry, Jasper whispered. She promised. I don't care what she promised. Theron turned to Iris, who had gone pale as death. You orchestrated this, paid him, used him, destroyed your own sister because what? Jealousy? Cruelty? She deserved it, Iris spat, her mask finally cracking. She always got attention for being so pathetic, so broken. Then she gets chosen by the Lycan King? Her? She deserved to lose it all. Sage felt something break inside her chest. Her own sister, her own blood, had hated her that much. Theron moved then, crossing the distance to Sage in 3 long strides. Before she could react, he scooped her up into his arms, cradling her against his chest. Sage's breath caught. Theron, I'm taking you home, he murmured against her hair. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Your Majesty, please. Alpha Xavier had appeared, probably drawn by the commotion. Surely we can discuss this. Theron's head turned and the look he gave Xavier made the Alpha stumble backward. Declan seized them all. The sister, her mate, the parents and Jasper. Warriors poured into the hallway like shadows given form. They grabbed Iris, who screamed and fought. Grabbed Kieran, who went white with terror. Grabbed Marcus and Helena, both too shocked to resist. Jasper didn't even try to run. Just let them take him, his head bowed in shame. Beat them, Theron commanded, his voice arctic. Every single one, until they're at the brink of death, then throw them in your dungeons and let them rot until I decide whether they deserve to live. No, Iris shrieked. You can't. I'm not your pack member. You have no authority. I'm the Lycan King. Theron's voice could have frozen hell itself. I have authority everywhere. And you conspired to commit treason against the crown by falsifying evidence in the Queen. That's a death sentence in every territory. The warriors dragged them away, their protests and screams fading down the hallway. Alpha Xavier stood there, trembling. Your Majesty, I had no knowledge of this conspiracy. I don't care. Theron turned toward the exit, still holding Sage. If any of them die from the beating, consider it justice. If they survive, I'll decide their fate later. He carried Sage out into the night, where his carriage waited. Declan held the door open, his expression carefully neutral, though Sage could see relief in his eyes. Theron set her gently on the plush seat, then climbed in beside her. The door shut. The carriage lurched into motion, and suddenly they were alone. Silence stretched between them. Heavy, painful. Then Theron made a sound, something broken and raw, and dropped his head into his hands. I'm so sorry. His voice cracked. Sage, I'm so fucking sorry. I should have believed you, should have listened, should have... His shoulders shook, the Lycan King, lots of years old, powerful beyond measure, crying. Sage's own tears started falling. You thought I betrayed you. I was a fool, a coward. Theron looked up, and his silver eyes were red-rimmed, devastated. I was so afraid of being betrayed again, of having my heart broken again, that I believed the worst immediately. I didn't even give you a chance to defend yourself. They had evidence, witnesses, Jasper's confession. None of it mattered. Theron grabbed her hands, holding them like they were the most precious things in the world. I knew you, knew your heart, and I threw that away because I was too damaged to trust anything good. Sage's throat burned. You banished me. Let them take me away. Let me think you hated me. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me. Theron's thumbs traced circles on her palms. I sent scouts to watch you. Couldn't stop myself. When they reported what your family was doing to you, how they were treating you." His jaw clenched. "I came to that wedding to see you, to know you were alive. But you wouldn't even look at me, and I thought..." "Thought what?" "That you hated me, that I destroyed whatever we had so completely that there was no coming back from it." Fresh tears spilled down Sage's cheeks. "I thought you hated me, thought you believed I was a cheater and a liar, thought my baby, our baby, would grow up thinking their mother was..." "Our baby?" Theron's eyes went wide. "Yes, our baby! It's yours!" Sage placed her hand on her stomach, where the tiny bump was just barely visible. "It was always yours. There was never anyone else. Just you." Something broke in Theron's expression. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead to hers, his hands spread protectively over their child. "I'm so sorry. So sorry I didn't protect you, that I let them hurt you, that I wasn't there. You're here now. I'm never leaving you again." Theron pulled back just enough to cup her face in his hands. "Never. Even if you don't forgive me, even if you can't love me anymore. I'll spend forever making sure I ask for your forgiveness, no matter how long it takes for you to. I'll make sure that you're happy, that no one ever hurts you again." Sage looked into his eyes, those beautiful silver eyes that had been so cold when they met, but were now burning with emotion, with love, with desperate need. "I forgive you," she whispered. "You shouldn't." "I forgive you." Sage kissed him softly, tasting salt from both their tears. "We were both broken, both scared, both so sure we didn't deserve happiness that we sabotaged it the moment something threatened it. You deserved better than what I gave you. Maybe, but I want you anyway." Sage's laugh was watery, broken and all. Theron kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promises, his arms wrapped around her, pulling her close but careful of her stomach, careful of their baby. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Theron rested his hand over her heart. "I love you. I should have said it before, should have said it every day, but I was too afraid. I love you too." Sage covered his hand with hers. "Even when I was hurt and angry and broken, I still loved you. Come home." Theron kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Come home with me. Be my queen, my mate, the mother of my child. Let me spend the rest of our lives proving I deserve you." Sage looked at him, this powerful, ancient king who was crying and begging and completely vulnerable, who had fought through his own demons to save her, who loved her despite every reason not to. "Take me home," she whispered. Theron pulled her into his lap, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. The carriage rolled on through the night, taking them away from Hollowbrook, away from pain and cruelty and everything that had tried to destroy them. Taking them home, together, where they belonged. Epilogue. 6 months later, Sage gave birth to a daughter with her father's silver eyes and her mother's dark hair. They named her Luna, and she was perfect. Iris, Kieran, Marcus, Helena, and Jasper all stood trial for treason. Theron, as Lycan King, had the final say in their punishment. He gave Sage the choice. She could have ordered their deaths, could have made them suffer the way they'd made her suffer for so long. Instead, she banished them, stripped them of their ranks, their pack affiliations, their reputations, sent them to the furthest corners of the territories where no one knew their names and no one would care about their lies. "They're not worth killing," Sage told Theron as they watched the prisoners being led away. "Death would be too easy. Let them live knowing they lost everything because of their own cruelty." Theron kissed her temple, Luna sleeping peacefully in his arms. You're too merciful." "No," Sage smiled, watching her family disappear into the distance. "I'm just done letting them have power over me. This isn't mercy. This is freedom." And as they turned back toward the castle, toward their home, their family, their future, Sage finally truly believed it. She was free. She was loved. She was home. The end. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed spending time with our pack today. If you love this story, like, share, and drop a comment below. I love reading your thoughts, and I'd also love to know where you're listening from. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new tale. There's plenty more alpha romance waiting for you in our other audiobooks, ready to make your heart race.